high school seniors are learning special skills that will take them into the working world when they finish high school. Thousands of other high schoolers, they've been called the forgotten half, will graduate and start looking for a job.
The people of the United States need to know that individuals in our society who do not possess the levels of skill, literacy, and training essential to this era will be effectively disenfranchised, not simply from the material rewards that accompany competent performance, but also from the chance to participate fully in our national life.
Those words spoken 10 years ago in a report to the nation and the Secretary of Education. Today, the National Association of Manufacturers finds that many jobs in the United States go begging because of a poorly trained, undereducated workforce. It sees social problems being created and compounded, and warns that we are creating the seeds of a new underclass.
We in the United States have not prized craftsmen historically. We tend to emphasize a college education, which I am not against, but there are a lot of individuals in the school system, a lot of young people who, for one reason or another, don't go to college or can't go to college, and they've got to be trained to do other things. Otherwise, we end up with what's been described as a huge underclass.
Is America becoming two nations? One of comfortable living standards and rising expectations, the other of poverty, joblessness, and frustration. There are those who see us caught up in a divided society that will eventually pull us down to a third world level. Yet this nation has a history of extraordinary achievement. It has attracted people from around the world with its tradition of freedom and opportunity. We cannot let that tradition fail. The solution is out there, but it must be constructed by a strong partnership between industry and business and the educational community. Motivation, education, opportunity. That's what it will take. We know that the school reforms that dominated the 80s have not given us the skilled labor force we need to compete in the global economy. There are millions of people around the planet who will do the unskilled jobs and do them cheaper. Education has simply failed to keep pace with our dramatically changing world. Obviously, not every young person can or should go on to college. For the ones who emerge into an adult world unskilled and often undereducated, there's a bleak future. Houston schools recognize the need to open avenues for these students to gain marketable skills. And the business community shows a willingness to help with special programs that would be difficult for the district to offer without additional burden on an already strained budget. Today in Houston, one of the country's leading woodworking companies has been transitioning HISD students from school to work in a skilled craft that for centuries has held a valued place in the world.
15, 20 years ago, we walked out in the shop. We took stock of ourselves. We were doing pretty good quality work. It turns out that we had no young people in the workforce. It was an older group of people with no young people coming into the trade, and so we got involved with HISD's vocational training program. They were ultimately very cooperative and helpful in helping us link up with the people at Milby. And if you walk into our shop today, you will see the majority of the younger people who are in key positions, who will be the future leaders of this company, are all former Milby graduates. They're all out of that program. Most of them came directly out of high school to work for this company. A few had worked in other places, but the majority came right out of the Milby program here. We're not asking the school system to produce finished cabinet makers. We are looking for educated young people who are adaptable, who have the basic skills, who are trainable. We just want a motivated, disciplined person who is interested in our business, who is interested in woodwork. They're operating very sophisticated machines that are turning out quantities of items much faster than you can do it by hand. You have to start with a basic understanding of the hand tool and what it does in order to understand what the computerized machine does. We do have a very diverse workforce, and it's a pretty broad mixture, and we have men and women both out there. But some of the work, especially in the finishing department, are handled by women more efficiently than men because we are doing some very delicate touch-up and some graining occasionally, and it takes a very, very sensitive hand and a very sharp eye. But we believe our workforce is as good as any workforce in the United States today in our industry, probably the better workforce, because we have a lot of young people in it.
In our modern world, medicine has evolved into a profession that draws heavily on technology. There is great demand for well-trained people to work in many areas of medicine, and Methodist Hospital has developed a program that offers some of our students the opportunity to have that specialized training.
It's an opportunity for students to be introduced to vocation that they can really actually acquire for a lifetime. The skills that they learn in the classroom and in the clinical setting are skills that will benefit them for the rest of their lives. Those are things that they can get out, get a job, or they can prepare to go to college. The program is designed to give students the academic track that they need to go into university setting or immediately into work if they choose to do that after 12th grade. Students will be able to learn theory in the classroom and then go and apply it in the clinical setting, which is, I think, a different kind of program from the co-op in that there is teacher supervision when they're in the clinical preceptorship area, as well as mentors at the institutions where they're going. And in this case, that's the Methodist Hospital. For the students in particular who are in completed the cluster course, those students are provided, if they qualify, summer employment. The second-year students, or in addition to summer employment, they are also given the opportunity to do part-time work. If they choose to do that during the school year, this program in particular with the Tech Prep approach really provides the academic background as well as the skills that the student needs to go on to the vocation which they choose to go into. Our coordinator for the program is the chief recruiter at Methodist Hospital, and this gives her a first-hand, I'd say, view of those students who've been exposed to the hospital facility. Hopefully, in the long run, it's going to provide jobs for these students, but as well, it will provide employees from Methodist Hospital because she knows those students who've been exposed and to what they've been exposed. But we are preparing these students to work in any area. It will provide them with skills so that they can go in at an above minimum wage level in the job place, in the marketplace. We're sort of set in a socioeconomically deprived area. It's predominantly a black school. Not to say that all black schools are socially deprived or economically deprived, but the program is designed to help students that ordinarily would not get a chance to go to college. Many times, I think, we lower standards when we look at minority schools and say they're not prepared to come up to par or they're not going to come up to par, and I beg to differ with that. I have found that our students do perform very well, and I would put them up against any students in the nation. I think that I've seen confidence levels change in students. Basically, some of our students are very shy, and I have seen that confidence level raised so that They now believe in themselves, but the student must motivate themselves. And if they're feeling good about themselves, if they feel that they can accomplish, then that motivation will be there for them. And so I feel that the program is going to be effective in propelling students toward post-secondary education, but also preparing them for the job market if they choose to do that.
The service industries on which our lifestyle depends now also require skilled workers. Houston's Public Works Department has opened the way for high school students to become licensed workers in its wastewater treatment division.
In 1991, we had our first group of children from the inner city high schools. Instead of going out on the street, as we have had to do in the past, to obtain operators for our facilities, by doing this with the children, we are training them and allowing them to grow with us in this wastewater business. In selection of the students from these various high schools, which we get about 10 from Barbara Jordan and 5 from Reagan and Sam Houston each, we interview them at the high schools. And the ones that are selected, which is about 20 students per year, come to work with us for the city in the afternoons. They are processed as full-time employees through our city personnel office, and we bring them in and give them 40 hours of classroom training, Unit 1 wastewater operations, and then we place them at some of our facilities to get on-hands experience. And then we bring them back into the classroom for another 40 hours in Unit 2 wastewater operations. And after that, they're eligible to set for their state certification Class D license. And we've had very good success with that because approximately 60% of them pass the state examination the first time. And by the end of the school year, it's feasible that we can have all 20 students with a wastewater operator's license to operate our plants. And if they elect not to come to work for the city of Houston, they still have a marketable skill that they could go somewhere else and obtain employment. From what I see in the classroom, they are very interested. And because they understand that this gives them an opportunity to get out of high school, and if they elect not to further their education, then they do have a marketable skill to go to work somewhere, and it raises their morale.
Around the country now there is a strong movement toward restructuring the high school years to bring about school-to-work transition. Not just for a limited portion of our student population, but for all our young people who would flourish with more opportunity for individual growth and added responsibility.
We complain because young people get involved in crime, they get involved with drugs and all of these ills of our society. And I'm not going to say that education is going to solve those problems 100%, because it certainly won't. But the one thing that we can give these young people is hope.
Americans have always been willing to support their college-bound youth with scholarships and with recognition and rewards. Today, to save our economy as well as our society, we must be willing to create similar opportunities for that forgotten half.